Hi everyone, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Peter Llewellyn. I run the services at medcommsnetworking.com. So if you haven't been to have a look, you'll find resources, activities, services for the global medcoms community, by which I mean people who work in and around medical communications, medical education, medical publishing, the global community of medcoms specialists, and indeed those people who want to join medcoms. This week we've had a MedComms Forum, which was an open Zoom meeting, which talked about home working in medcoms, all sorts of different aspects of home working. Obviously, we're talking to you at the end of what has been a crazy year for everyone. This is December 2020. We've all had to go back home at various stages and adapt to different ways of working. So we pulled together this week on the 16th of December, a group of people from the industry who talked us through their perspectives on how the work has gone. You'll find the whole recording at NetworkPharma TV, but it is a hefty 2 hours of video. It's well worth watching if you can, because the presentations all complement each other quite nicely. But we've taken each of the presentations, split them up, and provided them individually in this way. So thank you very much for watching, and hope you enjoy. Cheers.
I'm now going to call on Rebecca Douglas from Ashfield. Rebecca, you're going to, your title of your presentation is Training from Home, Evolving the Story. Could I ask you to tell us a little bit more, please?
Hi, Stephen. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here. Interesting discussions already. Yes, so as Stephen said, my name is Rebecca Douglas and I am Programme Director for Allegro, which is the fast-track training and development programme for Ashfield Healthcare Communications. And I've been brought here today to talk about our experience of running a training programme from home. So just to give a little bit of background. Oh, it's a bit of background noise. I don't know if someone's got their mic on. So in early 2020, we had committed to take on 13 associate medical writers. And associate medical writers are entry-level, are trainee writers, and to train them via our 12-month Allegro programme. So these guys had already been through interview, we'd already committed to bringing them on board. And they were due to start on the 20th of April. And then, as we all know, on the 16th of March, national lockdown happened for us in the UK. And we had lots of discussions about how we were going to handle it. But we decided that we would adapt the programme and we would train our associate medical writers virtually. So for people who don't know about how Allegro works and about the mechanics of it, it's set up like this. So as I said, originally it's a 12-month fast-track programme. So it's really important that our writers get an awful lot out of the 12 months, because at the end of the 12 months, what we aim to do for the majority of them is to promote them to medical writers. So it's important that they can learn all the key competencies during that initial 12 months. There's no time to waste. So months 1 to 2 are core skills training. So this is a focused training phase. It's not client facing. And previously we delivered that in our Macclesfield office, and it was face-to-face training. And it's a mixture of classroom style training, the AMW's practice skills like writing manuscripts, writing abstracts, learning how to write the digital, for lay audiences. So lots and lots of practice and one-to-one feedback, and also quite a lot of teamwork. At the end of those 2 months, our associates go out into rotation A, and rotation A lasts for 5 months. They're integrated into a team, and they do that in one of our UK offices, and they can choose which one. Rotation B, again, they're still under the Allegro umbrella, so they're still receiving a lot of training and mentoring, but by this time they're more experienced. And rotation B is with a different client, normally in a different business unit, and it's normally a different type of writing. And the aim of that is so that our medical writers get a really wide exposure to the business and to networking. So you can see that previously there were lots and lots of face-to-face interactions, and all of this had to be converted to an online programme. So we had about a month from making the decision to go ahead with the 12-month training programme to our associate medical writers, intake 8, it was our 8th intake, actually starting with us at the end of April. So we spent a lot of time initially looking at different platforms and different functionalities, and it seems really crazy now, isn't it? We're all so familiar with Zoom and with breakout rooms and whiteboards and polls, but back in April, all of that was a bit alien to us, if I'm honest, and so we spent time playing around with software, and then we looked at the 2-month intensive training course, and we looked at it as a whole and we adapted it. So we made all of the sessions shorter, we took some stuff out, we moved some stuff around, we broke it down into smaller chunks. We made a commitment that we wouldn't have sessions of more than 15 to 20 minutes without having breakouts, whiteboards, interaction. When we were in the classroom, we were traditionally training about 15 people at a time. The intakes tend to be around 15, sometimes a couple less, sometimes a couple more. And we would tend to train them all together in one room. What we did when we went to a virtual setting is we broke it down and we ran 3 identical sessions in parallel. So we have 3 trainers training at the same time in much smaller groups. We brought in some sessions with people outside of the core Allegro team, so outside of those 3 core trainers. We already had some of that in before when we were in the classroom setting and face-to-face, but we did it in a slightly different way for the virtual setting. We introduced social sessions into the programme, so we were very, very conscious of the fact that teamwork is absolutely key to everything we do in MedComms, and we wanted our associate medical writers to still form a team and to still feel part of the team. And so we introduced set sessions that were socials, and we said, this isn't just advisable, this is compulsory. Forced fun, we called it. We also increased the frequency of general touch points with the trainers. So we had an awful lot of one-to-ones. We did an awful lot of checking in with people. And I think this goes back to what Tim was saying, actually, that it isn't an easy ride to manage people remotely. Actually, in many ways, you have to work a lot harder at it because you have to put in more touch points. You have to work harder at working out how people are doing. And so we structured the programme in such a way that those touch points were kind of compulsory all the way through. So we were speaking one-on-one with people very frequently. So we ran the programme once and we got some good feedback. We asked lots of questions, and I'll show you some of those results later on. But then we decided we were going to go ahead and run it again. And so we evaluated, I'm not going to talk about remote recruitment because I know that that's being touched upon later on by Susie, but we recruited remotely again. And whilst we were waiting for that second intake to come in, we looked at the whole programme again. What had we done virtually that worked really well? And what did we need to change in light of what we'd learned first time round? So we didn't need to spend any more time working on functionality with Zoom. We were all very familiar with it by that point. We kept the shorter sessions because we thought it was really important in a virtual setting that those sessions were short and punchy. We kept all of the breakout work. We have had brilliant feedback on our breakout sessions, but we kept kind of that rule, that informal rule that we wouldn't go more than 15 to 20 minutes without interactivity. I would say we actually go a lot less in reality. We mixed up the groups, so the majority of time we still train 3 parallel groups, but we mixed it up a bit. So we do have sessions now that are also in the slightly bigger group, in the 15. And the reason for that was just to keep mixing up the dynamics so it's not the same all the time. We kept social sessions in, but we made them shorter and more frequent. So in the first intake, we did an hour's social every Friday. In the second time round, we made those blocks shorter. So we did some 9 o'clock half-hour sessions. We did some end of the day sessions, and we did some of those sessions without the trainers. So we gave people a rough topic to talk about. How did you find the manuscript task, for example? And we removed ourselves from some of them, and then we kept in some of the longer quizzes and things like that on a Friday, and we made sure we attended those. We kept the increased frequency of general touch points with the trainers. I think that's really, really important. We introduced some more structured introductions to roles and of people within the business. So what we realised first time round is that we didn't have those networking lunches that we normally have when people are in the office. And those kind of chance introductions that people make at the coffee machine or in the kitchen, there isn't the opportunity to do that online. And so we introduced some things where we brought different people in from around the business and just let people chat to them. And this last one's an interesting point, and it wasn't really planned. We'd been doing more outreach work with universities and so on, and so we had some training tops with our Allegro logos put on, and all of the trainers decided that we would wear them to do training. And what we noticed, and it wasn't planned, as I said, it was just a bit of something that we observed, was that when we were dressed for work, when we had our training tops on, second time round, actually, all of the ANWs turned up in the morning in work clothes. They were ready to learn and they were ready to work. And that's interesting because I think, for me, it's a personal observation, but I think that you are happier working from home when you're considering that you're working in a work environment and you're dressed for it, you feel better. So at the end of both of the intakes, we asked people lots of questions. We did, it was completely anonymised, so we don't know who responded what, but we asked lots and lots of questions. I've just got a few of the results here. So we asked people how they enjoyed the 8-week core skills training, and most of our ANWs said that they really enjoyed it or they enjoyed it. And we had one person in both intakes that somewhat enjoyed it. So that was a quite positive result. We asked them about how they found the Zoom delivery of training, because we were very conscious that people spend a lot of time at their screens. And again, the vast majority of our AMWs rated it as 10 out of 10. We worked very hard on it, but we didn't know how it was going to go back in March. We asked people how strongly they agreed with the sentence, "I felt part of the team during training," and we asked them to mark it out of 10. And, you know, similar to, I think, the findings of the earlier survey that was discussed, most people felt very much part of the team. We worked really hard at it. It wasn't an easy thing to do. And we did have time to plan, which is different to people that got sent home overnight and had to adapt. But most people did actually feel part of a team, but there were some people that struggled with that. Obviously, we don't have the comparison of how those people would have got on in the office, but there were a couple of people that did struggle with it and would have preferred to have been in an office. We asked people whether they felt that the remote learning aspect of the course was beneficial, detrimental, or made no difference to their learning and development. And what we found was that a majority of people found it either beneficial or made no difference. Some people found it detrimental. And again, we don't have the comparison for these groups had they been in the office, but it is interesting So moving on from the core skills training, which is the really intensive training phase, our Allegro AMWs then go, excuse me, go into rotation. And what we found, and these are just observations, was that the people that did best were the ones who went into agencies where the teams worked really hard on those virtual introductions. So those people settled much quicker. It was really, really important that there were regular team catch-ups, both social and work-related. That really helped people feel part of the team and settle quickly. It was important for us as managers to make sure that even though we were out of core skills training, we were really regularly catching up with people and we were checking in on them pastorally to make sure that everything was okay, there was nothing that we could help with, that they were getting everything that they needed from their rotations. In between the first and the second virtual rotation A, we introduced an advisor or buddy system so that there was that additional person checking in on people. So I suppose somewhat differently to if you're in a regular office job, our AMWs do have a lot of people that are kind of invested in their development. A couple of just additional thoughts. We found it really important that we set a good impression. It's really important that we're on time for meetings or we're early to meetings, because that stops everybody else thinking it's okay to log in 5 minutes late. Keeping those social etiquette things alive is important. So taking time to say good morning to people, ask how people's evenings were. You know, those things that you do in the office are really important for a team dynamic. Prioritising line management responsibilities, so making sure that those touch points in the week are prioritised and not delayed when we're all busy. Dressing appropriately, so getting up in the morning and getting dressed, it makes you feel so much better. We find that keeping cameras on is really key, actually, for good training, because you can see people in a small group. You can see instantly what people are doing, how engaged they are. You can see from the expressions on their faces because you get used to them. And when cameras are off, you miss a lot of that. Maintaining energy levels as a trainer was really important for me and for our trainees. So we employ different techniques for different sessions, but for example, if I'm delivering quite a long training session, I always stand to present like I would do if I was in the office, because that keeps my energy levels up. We encourage all of our AMWs to have their monitors raised so that they're looking up and they're not stooped over and they're not tired from stooping over. IT is really important, so good internet connections are really, really encouraged, and we check with our AMWs before they start that they have got good internet connections. I think it's really important that people use monitors, not laptops. And where possible, we encourage, and it's not always possible, but we encourage people to have a working environment that is a dedicated space. So again, this isn't a scientific summary, but this is my summary, having trained in a virtual setting twice now. So there's pros and cons to working from home. We didn't have a choice in this instance, but this would be my summary of pros and cons. So our pros are that we haven't had to bring 28 people to Macclesfield for training. We can be really, really flexible in terms of breakout groups. So I always call it being like Harry Potter, and you split people into breakout groups and it's like they go down a chimney and they come up in a different room. So that flexibility in terms of breakout rooms and not having to physically send people out into different parts of the building actually means that the training flows really well, because you don't have that like physical relocation time. Same with whiteboards, you're not dragging a whiteboard over, waiting for your pen to work, flipping paper that falls off walls and so on and so forth. So there's lots of opportunities for thinking from a different perspective and creativity in terms of training. We don't have any transport issues. I think that was something Rob mentioned before. We've had to think of inventive ways of socialising. So we've had to invest in how we do that and think a bit outside the box, and we've tried to do that. And we've brought those sessions in a formal way, really. Work-life balance can be a pro and a con. So, you know, our AMWs, we try and encourage them to go out and get some fresh air at lunchtime, exercise, their evenings can start earlier. There are cons as well. So there's reduced opportunity for networking by chance. You know, those people that you get to know just because you pass them in the corridor at the same time every day, the people that you enter reception with at the same time and you say hello to, all those networking opportunities that just happen in an office don't happen. There's a reduction in learning by absorption, and I think that's what Tim was alluding to. So, you know, when you're sitting next to someone and you say, well, that's quite cool, what you've done with that PowerPoint, how have you done that? They don't see that. So I think there is definitely a con from our perspective there. There are obviously social implications of isolation for some people, and that's been particularly acute for lots of people this year. The work-life balance can be a con as well, so there's less separation between work and home, which I know Rob was talking about. And we need to work harder at creating that team spirit. It isn't easy to keep up the momentum. I think you kind of get into the habit of it after a while, but you have got to constantly work at it. You know, there's not that joker in the office that's keeping everyone's spirits up. So as a management level, we have to work harder at that. And that's kind of my summary and our findings from the Allegro team.
Okay, thank you very much. As I said, that was just one presentation from what was an excellent afternoon on the 16th of December 2020, when we came together for a MedComms Forum to talk about home working in MedComms. You will find the other presentations and indeed the full presentation, the full recording of the whole afternoon, about 2-hour video over at NetworkPharma TV. Well worth watching. You'll find lots of practical tips and useful insights into how we're all getting on in MedComms in these strange times. So thank you very much for watching. Do please come along to medcommsnetworking.com if you want to see what else we're doing, and take care. Cheers.